It's
the
5:30.
flagship one anyway.
But I have 5:30, which we've only been back to.
Knows about
Good
it.
evening. Can we call the meeting to order, please?
Yep.
Please. Yes.
Kenny Easter,
Here.
Buffington,
Here.
Jackson,
Here.
Alexander,
Here.
Graves,
Here,
Shelby.
Here. Item number 2, petitions from the audience. Item number 3, discuss and possibly approve the minutes of the August 22nd, 2022 regular meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion made to approve.
Second.
There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 4, park report. Mr. Powell, Parks and Cemetery.
Still doing some spot mowing, but with this dry weather, we're getting to skip some mowing and do some other, take out some trees or do some maintenance, whatever we're needing to do. That last meeting or two, the tennis court lights were approved and have been ordered, and the new lawnmower for the cemetery. The tennis court parking lot came in higher than what we budgeted, so we're going to do some modifications and rebid that. And I have some more updated numbers on the cemetery. I've met with the engineer, and he can kind of pass that one around. And then it kind of shows the numbers in, I want to say, the third quarter, so we're ahead of schedule. Said this past year, the number, I think you were gone the last meeting when I came a while back, and I gave y'all some numbers and projected. That's sped up. It went from like 6 or 7 years, I think 4 or 5 years. We've been busy, but also been just selling a lot of lots. And so I've met with the engineer and kind of just getting the ball rolling and opening up the sections ahead of or just south of the shop. So the drainage is already in there. So basically just let him plot it out, and we'll cut out and gravel some roads, and it'd be ready for now,
Wow.
But not this year, but, maybe next year to but actually look at opening a new section or two in the next year or two. But yeah, we're it's going faster than we had projected. So, but other than that, just not really too much going on.
Splash pad.
Yeah, I'll shut it down October 3rd. I know there's quite a few people on it now when I come through.
I was gonna say that it looks like they're.
It's this cooler or nicer temperature. Part of school, there's no school today, so it was packed all day. And it's good when you see it packed at the same time. Oh, man.
Any news on the swimming pool at all, or?
That's fun.
That's the reason why we're here, tag teaming a little bit. Mr. Paddock has his plans pretty well completed, and he didn't have them completed for this meeting. But what I would like to do is call a special called park board meeting on October the 6th, be Thursday evening, October the 6th. And Mr. Paddock will be here with plans. The intention is to get those plans out to you well before the meeting so that you have an opportunity to look at those plans and be able to ask intelligent questions when he comes to present. Also, be presenting the plan to pay for it. And so that would also be on the agenda for that special called park board meeting. So the plan is to meet with Park Board on the 6th, and then take some things to budget personnel on the 11th, and then hopefully to council then on the 18th. So that's kind of the strategy about why to meet that way. So do y'all have any questions for me about that, or any comments?
So October 6th, he's gonna have a plan and everything, and that's when we're gonna discuss if there's any changes we need to get done with it and stuff like that.
Correct.
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 That's awesome. Good to hear.
Yeah.
That's
And,
really good to hear.
And moving forward with that, again, the objective is to try to get the thing bid out, get it completed for next season. So he's on target with those plans, and that's encouraging to me, so.
So just a silly question. If everything goes like planned, bid out and approved and everything else, and can be open, we're still saying, what, May of this next year?
So our target would, would be Memorial Day weekend.
So do we need to start thinking about personnel
Yes.
immediately?
Yes, now we have built into our budget, personnel for management, personnel for, lifeguards and that sort of thing. We also have built into our budget anticipated, maintenance costs, going forward.
Okay.
So those are things that we have built into the budget to try to prepare for, for this, upcoming.
Yeah, this is, yeah, because within 7 months, we're ready to roll.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, knock on wood, keep our fingers crossed, we plow forward and try to get the job done.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
And you may not want to answer this, but I'll ask it anyway. It has to do with funding.
Uh-huh.
Do you, based on what your preliminary findings are around funding, do you anticipate that we'll be in a position to fund whatever comes forward, assuming it comes forward into the existing, within the consistent constraints that we gave him?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I anticipate us being able to do that,
All right. Sounds good.
so. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mayor.
Exciting.
Item number 5, golf course report. Mr. Bowman.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, Dennis. Golf course has just been extremely busy. It's been, really good for us. Again, this is a third straight month that we've been very busy, so it's just exciting to see. Last September, we did 52,000, and we're already over 62,000 as of today. So, I mean, that's just big numbers that we're putting out. Memberships are way up. We're used to average about 220, 230 members. Now we're way, just barely over 300, maybe 305, something like that. So rounds of golf are up. We sell a lot more green fees and carts, so it's just going good. We're doing a lot of events. We have the Reincarnation is doing a fundraiser tournament Saturday. But we just finished the Ray Family Foundation tournament. That went great. That's always a good one. We have the United Way tournament coming up, the Williams United Way, on October the 7th, and it is packed full. Matter of fact, they're trying to get me to find carts. I've called all over northeast Oklahoma, Arkansas, and I can't even find any carts for them. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to handle that. So we talked about maybe doing a morning shotgun and an afternoon shotgun, or see how many members will volunteer their carts. That's always a tough deal because you never know who's getting on them. But so it's really good to see that much participation, and so things are going good. Still have to work on our pump station. I'm working on that, but we're so short-handed, it's really tough to even do that. So, we just don't have any help right now. So, but we're keeping it going. Any questions for me?
Cart paths, how soon start remodeling some of those?
Waiting on some numbers back, and he has never got back with me. I spoke to the gentleman, I don't remember his last name. Do you, Bill? Remember his last name, but that
Sanders?
yeah, has the,
No, Keith,
yeah, Keith that has the
ask him.
asphalt plan. So I spoke with him, he said he'd get some numbers and try to get back with me to see. I told him we still have to bid it all out, but the idea was to see with what money we have, the 25 from the Cherokee and our 50, to just see what we have that we can do, so we can at least come up with a plan, so, okay, we might be able to do 7 holes, 9 holes, or whatever, with some estimates of what he might be able to help us with on the asphalt. So he talked like he'd really help us, but I'm just waiting on some numbers from him.
Anything else for Dennis?
Anything new did you add into your budget for this year for the golf course, improvement wise?
Well, we added the 50,000 for the cart pass.
Right.
The greens mower, but we had to spend more money on our pump motors, so I don't know if we'll do the greens mower or not. But
What about the building itself, for the cart stalls?
no, don't have anything in there. There's nothing there. We put a new roof on it last year.
Right, I didn't know if there's anything else to do to it, or,
So we have plenty of work that we could do.
oh, yeah.
So,
Dennis, you mentioned, I'm sorry,
No, it's,
you mentioned the monthly memberships. What are the rules around monthly membership? I know this is kind of we've been doing it for a few years. Are people able just to buy a month at a time? Do they have to make a full year commitment, or how does that work?
we present it like it's a full year commitment, but sometimes people move off and have some circumstances, so we kind of call it a 12-month policy. But sometimes, you know, if a guy lost his job or something, I try to come after a guy for a few months of membership when he's lost his job or moved off or something like that. But as long as they're here, the policy we've been following is kind of what another golf course does, is that, you know, if they start a monthly and then they don't finish it, for whatever reason, they can't start another monthly till after another year has passed. So it kind of keeps them from just picking through the good months.
Okay, that's what I was.
Right.
Okay.
So, but like I said, we, you know, just don't want to feel like we want to penalize people when they've had some hardship for a reason and they couldn't afford the monthly membership to play golf, because it's really inexpensive. You know, if you're going to play golf, that's the way to go. If you want to cash flow it,
So it's basically, if you start on a monthly deal,
12 months.
12 months, if you don't finish those 12 months, you stop for some reason, you have to wait another year before you can join again. Okay,
Right.
thanks.
And we're doing good. We're $4,200 a month coming in off monthlies, so.
you see a lot of people, that's what they want to do when they come out,
Yeah, it's a lot of people just cash flow it, you know, people that
which
cash flow.
I'd rather do that too.
10%, you know, if you pay it all at once, but that's a big chunk of money for some people. So it's been a great option.
Oh, I think it's awesome. There's a lot of people I know that's how they're doing it too, and they really like it.
The other thing we have is our Pryor Halloween Festival. I have flyers, we have posters, anybody want to put any up? It's coming along pretty good, so we just want to keep advertising, want everybody to know about it, and we've got some good people involved that's really helping making our trail ride really nice and scary, because that was one of the complaints that we had last year, wasn't scary enough, so
Not a complaint.
we've got some other people involved, and they're just right down their alley, so it should be a fun event. We've already had a lot of people talking about it, so I think it's gonna really be good. But please, I got posters, I got flyers, if anybody would like some, one or two.
Or we just pass them down. We'll just pass
Dennis,
them.
did you drop any at the district?
My wife did today. Yep.
I don't need anything, thank you, Dennis.
Got a poster, do I hang one up?
Yep.
Other than that, just been busy, so any questions?
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank y'all.
Item number 6, discuss possible recommend council action regarding mayor's nomination of Ron Reeser for seat number 2 of the Park Board, term ending 7/31/24. This seat was left vacant by Melinda Marks.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak to that, since it's my nomination for that seat. Ron Reeser has been in our community for a long, long time. I did have to twist his arm to get him to consider to serve on Park Board. He's been retired from the bank now for a while, and he enjoys going out and playing golf and enjoys his retirement and going to see his grandkids. But he brings to the table his experience in banking, his experience in management, and he's a sportsman. So I've known Ron for a long time. He's a stand-up guy. I trust him, and he's a good citizen of Pryor Creek, Oklahoma. So without reservation, I recommend him as a Park Board member. And he's not here tonight because I think he's traveling. Travels when he can travel. So anyway, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions that you might have regarding Ron. Most of you know Ron or have had experience with Ron. So any questions I can answer from anybody?
Anybody got any questions?
Do we need to make a motion?
Make a motion that we recommend.
Make a motion.
Motion's made to recommend. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll make that recommendation, Mayor. Item number 7, discussion and possible action regarding allowing Lakes Area of 8, Chapter 13, to host a bike and treat event on Halloween from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Centennial Park. We have a representative from the Abate group.
Hello, my name is Nikki, and I'm the event coordinator for our ABATE. We did this last year. I have a couple flyers I'll pass out here. We set up, we would like to set up from 5:30 to 8 is what we have. I'd like to ask permission to do that at the Centennial Park. We did it last year. We had a great turnout. We'd like to set up about 5 o'clock. We will be handing out candy. We got a lot of overflow from the Whitaker Park because it was so busy with the trunk or treat and people coming from the other side of town. So we had a great experience. We had bikes out there for the kids to see. Some of our members were in costume. We had a great time. We'd like to do that again this year. If we could ask for permission to allow us to do that.
Did you have any problems with parking?
Not as much. Some people parked along down 17th. We set up on the east side, I guess that would be. Some of them would just pull in, kids got out, got their candy, they pulled back out. We had a lot of people just walking. We had people that come from the apartment complex. There was kids from everywhere. So, but we did pretty good. So I think that we'll kind of set up that same way again this year, if that's okay. And we enjoyed it very much, and we liked, this is another way that ABATE helps support our Pryor community.
And it went good last year.
It went very good last year, didn't it? We had over $300 worth of candy this year. My allowance has been $500.
Well, that candy doesn't last long, does it?
No, it doesn't.
It
But
doesn't go far.
the kids loved it, so. And I got to take pictures and ask the family. They said it was wonderful because the other park was very full. We didn't have as long as lines. We had a great time. We enjoyed it. I think we enjoyed it more than the kids did. Anybody have any questions?
Questions?
None?
I make a motion to approve.
I'd entertain a motion.
Me?
She made it? I'll second.
Made,
I'll second.
seconded.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Now you're doing it 5:30 to
5:30 to 8.
5:30 to 8.
Yes.
Okay.
They make us some great things. You guys do good.
Well, have our toy run coming up also.
Yes.
Thank y'all
We love
for
the
your
toy
time.
run.
Thank you. Item number 8, discussion regarding chain link fence at Bobby Buck Park.
Okay, so we've gotten several calls this summer about this fence, and it is in bad shape. So, but no one knows, like, I haven't been able to find any records of actually when it went up. And so we had it surveyed to make sure it is on our, property and stuff. So the fence itself, it's set on the city property about a foot and a half in. So I've took pictures, you can just flip it through, I guess. So the front 2 or 3 houses are pretty clean and keep theirs kind of, but then you get into this. And then the farther south, there's only 4 actual property owners of this. You got the first 3 to the north. Did I mention your name?
It's all public knowledge, you could.
So then a certain guy owns the 6 like rental houses to the south. That's where kind of all of this is.
Are you sure that's the city put it up though? The chain link?
Well, I'm not sure if they put it up, so we can't find no record, but it's on our property. I mean, it is ours. So, like, this is a section where the fence is totally missing, and you tell people use it to go through it and stuff. So, the thing was, it's kind of like the pool, so the thing was, like, do we just take it out? Do we replace it? Huh?
Do you need a fence there?
Well, okay, so our original, I say ours, the mayor and I, back in the earlier summer, the plan was we were going to take it out. Then I guess word got to the residents, some of them do use that fence as the back to their fence. It's not that they're actually tied into our fence, but like like the second house, Mrs. Wilcox, she said, they lived there forever. And she said, that was one of the things why they liked the house, because it was fenced in. So it was there then. So it's been like that forever. It's not like anybody's added a fence and tied into ours. It was already there. But,
Hey Frank, just
So-
before you get any further up, I'm trying to get oriented here. Is this fence the one that runs north and, you said Bobby Buck, right?
it's on the east side. Runs
East
north.
side runs north and south from one street to the other, basically?
Mhm.
Okay.
So word got out, and we were gonna take it out, and we started getting several phone calls that they didn't want it out, they want it replaced. So here we are. So, but this is what we would have to deal with by taking the other fence out.
Yeah.
Now, I've spent most of the day, we had it surveyed, I re-verified with them. It's inset to the west and on our property like a foot to a foot and a half, from one end to the other. I went and talked to MUB because there's highline powers there, utilities. So like easement wise, is there anything like, does it matter if we go back to the same spot? If we, is it one of those grandfathered in, if we take it out, can we not? And so then I even talked to the code enforcement person to where, if he could talk to some of these property owners to the point where they clean up some of their,
Are you gonna replace it once you take it out?
that's why I'm here, that's the question. Is
Yeah.
to replace it or just take it out.
Okay.
Well, I might be able to give you a little bit of a background that field used to be the Little League baseball field.
Yeah, I played there I know it's been there since I was this long.
Yeah. And I suspect that fence was originally put up because this was 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. And I know when I played there, I launched more than one ball over that fence trying to throw from shortstop to first.
Yeah.
My arm wasn't the most accurate. And I think that's probably why they put it up there originally, to try to contain the balls within the field. I So just saying why it's there,
Yeah.
but this issue you're bringing up is if we take, it needs to be taken down.
Yeah, it's in bad shape. It's just a matter of, do we just take it out or do we replace it? And if we replace it, it's a 6-foot chain link fence. Do we have to go back to 6 foot? Could we just do a 4 foot? When and if or where do we put gates in? There is a couple of gates, but like they're back there. But then the other spot I told you, like where I say kids, whoever just ripped out the fence. And so, you know, that's a concern of even putting back a new fence, or they just gonna rip it out again. So anyway, the utility wise and everything, I've found out, we're fine, go back and they said we'd be better off put it back in the exact same spot it is. That's what I've been told. If we do it, don't try to move it one way or the other. Them right there, the first couple of houses are the only ones that have fences that are using our fence as their back fence.
Only 2 out of all of them?
Yeah.
So just curious, do you have an idea, did you get an estimate what it costs to replace it?
I did once, going back with the way it is, a 6-foot fence. But since then, just after today, with talking to some of the people, I thought, well, if we do it, to me, there's no sense in going back with a 6-foot fence. If we do it, just a 4-foot fence. But it's not our job to, it's not for them, it's not our job to have security for them or privacy. I mean, chain link fence not gonna be privacy, but, the issue, in some of that grass, the way you see, okay, so, see, I have to be real careful. We spray most everything. But when it comes to borders, we have to be real careful, because I've gotten chewed out before. If it goes through the fence and
Right.
gets inside, hey, my dog or cat gets sick. So we have to be real careful when we spray stuff like this. But being I found out there's another foot on the other side of it, I'm like, hey, it's our property.
It's our property anyway.
But if we get it cleaned out and then hopefully keep it sprayed where hopefully it won't get like this again. See, most of that's on the other side, it's just growing through. I think that's kind of some of the stuff I've been griping about that I've been running to at the park and ball field. But yeah, there's a couple places where like that, the trees are. So if we decide to replace it, I was gonna do like a bid alternate, like one fence company, like we take the fence out and they put up the fence, and ones where they do it all, which is, I would not complain about.
But do we need it?
We don't, no, we don't. It's just, I thought there actually might be some of them here, because they've called me, and I've actually told them to show up at the meeting to speak there's only said 4 different owners.
I mean, I understand that they're using it for part of their, but I mean, if we have to replace it.
The one quote I got with the 6-foot fence, it was, I don't have the exact numbers, it was almost $12,000 for the fence and another $4.5 for removal.
I think another way to ask the same question is there any benefit to the city in having that fence there?
Not for us.
So there's no benefit to us that we are aware of in having that fence?
There's no safety concerns or?
No insurance?
No, I mean-
I'm not trying to dream up
Now,
stuff, I'm
our
just,
thing was like no other parks are fenced in anywhere else. Now, the property owners may have their own fence, but we don't, border anything off anywhere else.
So if you take it out, you're gonna clean it down to the dirt? Pull all the
Yeah.
posts
Yeah,
and
in
pull
fact,
everything and
yeah.
it just be,
Muggs even already told me if we do go that route, they want to replace the pole before we go back with the fence. But it doesn't really affect them, because they would come in on the park side anyway, because the poles are right next to the fence. But like that right there is a telephone deal, and you got that tree. That's why I just assumed whoever's going to do the fence, they do it all, so we don't have to. Yeah, we got
Easier
somebody-
to maintain if you didn't have it.
Yeah. And it's pretty obvious where the borderline is. You know, the poles, and there's a little ditch right that runs down right there. You only got maybe 10 feet between the fence and the trail.
So
So
it seems like if we aren't aware of any benefit to the city, that if it didn't exist, the city wouldn't put it up. That's another way to look at it, is if the fence wasn't there, we wouldn't go pay to put
Yeah,
one up.
yeah, if it wasn't there, then most likely the property owners would have had, you know, the fence, you know. That last picture, you know, showed like I said, they don't tie into our fence, but there it just goes up to it. So whether we take it out or replace it, they're still gonna have to accommodate, like if they got dogs or something, you know, if they're relying on the back of that fence, like a, you know, good.
Well, I would recommend that we take it out, clean up the area, and if it becomes a problem, we can always put a fence in later. But for right now, just get rid of it.
What about, and I agree with that. I wonder though, if we've got people that we know are saying, hey, we don't want you to take it out, we want you to leave it. Would it be a good intent on our part if we told them that we were planning to take it
Oh, yeah,
out?
we're not gonna do it till we get with them first. Like I said, if
Okay.
anything, if they have to make accommodations, like if they got a dog back there, you know.
If they wanted to keep their spot, we
The
can leave
rental
it.
houses.
Well, I'm just,
I don't think they're gonna matter. It's the first three that actually have not these, like have a maintained yard. And two of those three are the ones that has called me, you know, and it's just, you know, there is no fence on down, it's just these first two.
So what would be the possibility of leaving the fence for those three people that have, I mean, they have lived there forever, two of them have.
Yeah,
one of them-
that's-
But, just leave that fence there for them, since they've been there forever, and then just remove
I mean,
the rest of
that's-
it.
That's actually came up too, and we talked to some people earlier, like if we replace it, just do the ones that, you know,
Yeah.
had the fence.
That's yucky.
yeah, the thing about that, we just want to be clear though. It's, if you do it for one,
Yeah, and that
other
was,
people sometimes come forward and say, well, if you're gonna do it for them, why don't you do it for us?
and that was gonna be my question, like if we done gates.
I know if I want to keep my dog in, I build my own fence.
Yeah,
There's only one or two gates there, but if we take it down and put them up, you know, or some people are gonna say, well, how come he got the gate and I didn't? So it'd be one of those here, no one gets a gate, or they all get one, or, I'm mentioning him, or we leave it up to the owner, if they want a gate, they buy the gate and we put it in with the fence. That is if we replace it.
I think, I don't know what everybody's opinion is, but I've heard a couple that have said that there's really no benefit to the city. There's no reason the city would put this fence up today. And so, I mean, for $12,000 or $16,000, we probably got funds that could be used better elsewhere.
Yeah.
But we need to try to work with people and let them know, not, you know, that, hey, if they really think they've got a good reason, come down and tell us what it is, and maybe we'll
Cox,
rethink it.
and then
But
the other one's John Ketcher, which if y'all knows, councilman, so it's his son.
It's his son, yes.
The first house, I can't remember, but like you say, I think that's one of the others that's been there forever.
Her name's Betty Teague,
Yeah, that's, yeah,
and she's been there forever, and
Yeah.
both she and the Wilcoxes live on
yeah.
a limited income, and that's why I'm saying, why can't we just leave their fences alone, and then take it off?
Because theirs is maintained, correct? It's in good shape?
Yeah.
The yard and the fence on those two, is that Sue?
Yeah, the
It's,
first
yeah.
three, they're pretty
So
well.
it's Betty, Sue, and Ketchum.
That are nice and in good shape.
Yeah.
And then
So
past
that's why
that,
we're
they're
here.
Why don't we make a recommendation then? If they want to keep their fence, they need to come and speak at the next or at the next park board meeting that they want to keep their part of the fence. Otherwise, it's gonna be taken down.
That's fine with me, because we've got enough to do. So if we were gonna remove the fence, it's gonna be a while.
Did you say it was
We've got
in,
stuff to do.
That way.
Right, did you say it was inside our lot line?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's already on our
it's already
property,
on our side.
How much?
like a foot to a foot and a half.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
Okay.
That way.
Well, they got room to build their own fence on their own lot.
Yeah, they're actually kind of doing illegal by coming on our property by foot, you know. Like I said, most of these people that was like that even when they moved in there though. It's not like they've done it.
Well, let's give them, what, 90 days? 90 days to come and plead their case, they want to keep their fence. They have 90 days to do it, otherwise we're taking it down.
Can I
have a
speak to that?
question. If they do that,
they
are we going to entertain the idea, okay, we'll leave those three people's good fence if they do come and talk to us, but yet we're gonna tear down the back? Or are they gonna come and talk to us, but yet we're still gonna, you know?
So that, if I may, there's a perspective here that I think we should recognize. So, we don't know, how long has the fence been there, Frank?
We're guessing at least, I'm gonna say between 40 and 50 years.
Okay.
That's fine.
So, there's a perspective here of that fence being there. It has served a good purpose for our park, but has also served a good purpose for those residents. And two of those residents have spoken. They don't need to come here and speak to you because they have spoken to city councilor, they've spoken to me, they've spoken to Frank. And the Wilcoxes would like to keep the fence. Catchers would like to keep the fence. I've not talked to Betty Teague. Have
I'll
you?
talk to her. I
have you?
will talk to her. and find
But
out.
I would imagine
I would imagine
that
so.
if she had the possibility to keep the fence there, she probably would like to do that. I think we should probably assume that. And here's another part of the perspective is from the Catcher property south, it's very, very unkept, and we own it. It's unkept, and we own it. Now, that doesn't mean that we have not attempted to keep it up over the last 50 years or however long it's been. But the truth is, we own it. We own it. We own that fence. We should have the ability to keep part of the fence and to take part of the fence down. And whether or not we put back up part of the fence, that would be up to us. That would not necessarily be up to that property owner, in my opinion, because it has not been kept up from the property owner's perspective. We've kept it up on our part of it. You know, we can see that. We trim up to it, whatnot, but there are trees growing through it. I would recommend that we keep the fence from the Teague property to the Catcher property, and from there south, we remove the fence.
I'll tell you the problem the problem I have with it is treating citizens differently. I mean, this gets into making, exceptions. It sounds like we know these people. I just caution us against treating people differently as as an administration, as a park board, when we can't. I tell you where else I've seen this happen is, for those of you who remember, Pryor used to have alleys that the trash ran down. Well, an issue right now is some people commandeered that complete alley on their side, while the other people have got a short backyard, and the other ones have got a bigger backyard. And we haven't gone in and said, we ought to split that down the middle and be fair to all the property owners. But this gets into people start taking it.
Let me ask this question. That fence has been there at least 42 years, because it was there when I moved to town. What brought this up now? Why now did we want to take the fence up?
There was, I'm trying to remember who called originally, they come about the bad shape it was in, the rails broke and sections missing, and actually that part is on down. And it's just talking about if we actually had any plans to replace this fence because it was in bad shape and ugly and nasty and blah, blah, blah. And so that's where it came up to, and that's where, that was the decision, do we replace it or do we just take it out? Because, you know.
One of the homeowners was asking us if we were gonna fix it, or
Yeah,
we were,
the original ones were actually, one of the three owners, it was one of the rental properties on down. That's where the rough sections are, and sections missing, and the top rail, that's where the kids used to pull it out and climb over. So they were the ones that was asking about this fence. And when the word got out that we were thinking about just removing it, that's when those property owners got with this saying that they didn't want it out.
But the other property owners could have kept up their own, like those three did, but have chosen not to.
rental properties.
Yeah,
so.
or their,
And all-
whoever owns those rental
Yeah,
properties
and that's,
could have.
I don't know
done
who
that.
actually, I don't know who it was that actually made the original complaint, but, and when I say landowners, I mean, it's just one guy owns all, I think there's 6 of them.
Is there access, do they, all three houses have access to the backyard?
Just that one gate right there, and I guess behind the pictures.
Did we put that gate in?
No, nothing's been done to that as long as I've been here. Like I said, Mud
So
will
some-
come in
so
and.
some-
Somebody
else-
commandeered it.
So somebody else put the
Helped
gate
us.
in, and we
Helped
might be
us.
able to look that back at our archives and find out that somebody may have requested that they put a gate in there. I mean, we don't.
is the fence in a condition that it's a safety hazard?
I mean, there are sections, yeah, that it's gone.
On
the
the
top-
south, on the south part.
Yeah, there's sections totally missing, top rails all, yeah, it is in bad shape.
So you're saying from where that where that pole is, south is what you want to take out, correct?
No, I'm not saying anything.
That's what I'm saying.
This is your call.
I thought I had you hooked. Eyes closed.
So somebody that's
Section
being,
there south is the worst part, yes.
so somebody that's maybe playing the devil's advocate might say that we're investing city money to improve personal property.
My concern of it would be, what's to stop them from ripping out the fence, from climbing over and all that. You know, we spend $12,000-$15,000 and.
You'd be fixing it anyway.
Yeah, and being highline poles and towers, whatever, power lines, we can maintain it for a point, keep it clean, but eventually, in 10 more years, it's probably gonna look like this again.
If,
I just
if
being
you
honest,
replace
you know.
the fence.
Yeah,
But
so
if
that's
we-
the downside of putting the fence back up, in 10 more years, we'll be in the same boat.
And it's rental properties. It's
Yeah,
not, okay.
that's.
Yeah.
And these houses don't have any fences either, that go from their backyard to our, other than the first
I'm not
three.
gonna sit here and say none of them,
No.
no, I don't think so.
We're not sure if some of them do have fences.
You can't
You
see
can't
it.
see it.
Because it's all overgrown and it's a hazard, especially if part of it's, you said the top rail's off. If some kid climbs over that, they're gonna hook themselves on that chain link.
Yeah.
that
And we
hurts.
own the fence.
So,
Yeah, so we're actually liable for that dilapidated fence that somebody can hurt themselves on.
We're liable for the entire fence, not just the dilapidated part.
This
Are they
kind
gonna
of
si-
reason we took out the backstop, you know, when we had the ball field there, it was just, you know, it's getting all rusted and broke.
so let's, for argument's sake, those three keep their fence. Are they willing to sign off on something saying that's your responsibility?
I don't think they can, because it's not on their property.
It's not on their property, and who knows when those homeowners will move from those
Yeah.
properties and it becomes someone
But if
else's.
we're liable for the fence, is that,
Those people probably won't,
I think we have to act in the city's best interest,
they'll probably die there.
whatever that might be.
But what happens then?
Those people have to act in their own best interest, and they can, but we have to act in the city's best interest.
Like I said, my thing would be if we go the route to replace it, it doesn't have to be a 6-foot fence, though, we can go back with just a 4-foot chain link. My question would be though, gate-wise.
Frank, I think what you're hearing here is, and till we take a vote, we won't know, but I think you're hearing that
Take it out.
we haven't seen a reason, we haven't heard a reason that the city needs that fence up. And two is, I think we've heard there may be a little bit of a risk of a hazard. Somebody may get hurt on it, a liability for us, if we don't do something with it. And,
It's not like if we took it down, they can't say we're taking away privacy. It's not a privacy fence, it's a see-through chain link. So they can't throw at us, well, y'all got privacy. I have heard that before, like down the Centennial. Some of those fences, we trimmed trees and they, oh, you took away our privacy, but,
It could be a security issue for them too, though. It keeps people from the park entering.
yeah, but is it our job to?
and what do you do with that fence when you pull it down? You're gonna throw it away or you're gonna sell it?
We scrap it,
So, there's always a possibility,
Yeah, probably we are not gonna pull it down. We're gonna pay somebody to pull it down. And-
so whoever pulls it down, if those people want that fencing and then put it up on their property, that might be something we can help them do. Now, as far as donate the material that we were gonna salvage, or not salvage, or just throw it away, then, that could be a choice that would help them from a material standpoint.
Yeah, but I see what you're saying, but at the same time, whoever takes it apart, that means they're going to, usually they would just take it down and roll, they'd have to measure sections, it's usually gonna be in giant rolls or just wadded up.
Honestly, how good a shape can it be in as old as it is?
I have no idea.
I don't think poles or rails, I don't think you have to really be in salvageable. Fabric might be, but it'd be nasty. But yeah, like y'all brought up earlier, the gate, you can tell the gate's not as old as the fence, because it's more
Somebody cut it in.
shinier galvanized, but it didn't used to look like that either. When I was talking to Jared this morning down at Bub, he brought up, like, they done the Google. A lot of times your Google deals are a few years old.
Yeah.
Man, it looked clean, all the way down
Yeah.
just a few years ago. And it still had the backstop there, so that's how long ago it was. So just the last few years have people really like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think that's our fault because we provided them a concession stand and restrooms that they could beat to death. And we pulled that out, so they had to find something else. They pretty much tore that restroom down by hand.
Kids have always gone through there. There used to be some big old dogs. The guys used to didn't even like to mow because big old like Rottweiler, they were on chains and they'd come up to the fence and stuff. And eventually started out to getting it toward the bottom and they start pulling it farther and farther and eventually a whole section. But you can't really go to the people that live there because you don't know if they're the ones that done it or if it's just kids. You don't know who actually. Because one of the people tried to mention that to me, like somebody tears up the fence, find the owner. Well, you don't know that's who. Just because it's behind their house, that doesn't mean they tore it up.
I think we take it down. And if those three people would like to have it,
Well, my first thought is if we don't need the fence, we just get rid of it. But at the very least, any of that fence that's a hazard needs to be removed. At the very least. Anything that's a possible safety hazard needs to be removed.
We could still go to these front ones and give them a timeline that has.
At the very least, but
That way just don't take it.
My first-
long,
my first thought is, if we don't need the fence, pull it.
is there a stopping point somewhere in there that would help them?
First three houses.
There's been.
No, on the back side, where the back of that fence, is there a stopping point somewhere through there that would help them at all?
Like the poles, the overhead power lines. It's right at the fence, often that the poles are probably, I don't know if they're on our property, being, we got 1.5 feet, they're pretty close right up to the fence. It's like, all right, there's like your what they call utility easement stuff. But they said actual property owner, we own.
A foot and a half on their side.
Is there a right of way in there? Is there a utility right of way in there? Where are the poles
There's a
at?
utility easement, but it's still our property. It's up to, and I've tried to get that explained to them this morning. Just because there's an easement there, the property owners, is still their responsibility. You know, like they can own up to here and still be easement. You know, that means they gotta take care of it still, because it is their property.
It's utility easement, but it's
Yeah.
private property. And so the private property owner is responsible for whatever that utility easement is.
Can the property owner build in an easement?
With a permit, with a proper permit, they can. They request a permit, but there are some, so building over a water line, yeah, they can probably build over a water line. They have to make an agreement that if that water line ever has to be maintained, then whatever they build over it is gonna be compromised. They cannot build over a sewer line. They cannot build over a gas line. They cannot build over an electric line.
I do know there is no gas, and it's all overhead. The mud would come in on the park side anyway, they done said. Because there's, I don't know if it's that pole, he said there's a pole they would like to replace. My concern would be when you see that little telephone box there, I don't know where the telephone line runs.
Okay.
You know,
There's a telephone box there
well,
on the city side? or on the-
I don't, it's on the other side of the fence.
Oh, okay.
This box here, that's the pole we're talking about.
So,
License he has linked.
so those three houses going that way, is there a,
Starting just immediately south of this is where it all gets grown up. And the back, actually, like on down the next house is where there's the section missing. Farther down, Paul Earls Road.
Frank, I didn't check, are there any code violation or, code fines or whatnot against any of those
Not that I've
properties right now?
done, and I said, I talked to Trent Humphrey, the code guy, and he went and done talked to Mike Smith at the vending, and he caught his daughter. And he said there is no fines or nothing, but he did ask them to, he didn't tell them he was gonna take the fence out. He just asked them point blank to try to clean up back along this.
I would take all that out.
And see, most of that is not on our property. I mean, it's on their side, but it's just so tall and thin out going through the, yeah, that's one of
We
the.
have an ordinance where you have to keep your lawns.
See that, see, all that's on the other side that's going through the
Yeah.
field. Yeah, so it's on.
So what, isn't there some type of city ordinance where you're supposed to keep your yards mowed?
Yes.
Well, I suppose.
So,
Yes, so every one of those yards violate the code.
right,
Yeah, every one of them do.
and you can't
You
even,
can actually see through if anybody had a fence or not.
so,
I didn't drive down the street to try to look in.
goodness. So they're already in
That's
violation.
the one, see, that's where a whole fence is missing.
Yeah, both
You
of
can
them.
tell when they mow their yard, they're even mowing like the pathway, it's like it's used so much.
So-
I'd just take it out.
So do we need a motion or something right now to do something?
We can't make anything
Uh,
that vote gets
Right.
passed.
So it's not an action item on the agenda tonight. So it could be an action item on the special call meeting
It needs to be.
next,
I can't be
next
here on the
Thursday.
sixth.
Can you do that?
Thursday.
Yeah.
Thank you, Frank. So, those three, I mean, that's, I see what you're saying, and I agree with it. It's just, you're not really playing favoritism, but still yet, you've got to be able to, there's got to be a compromise right there somehow.
Now, I
whatever
don't
that
feel
might
like
be.
it's favoritism
yeah.
because they're keeping their place clean, they're keeping their yards clean, their fence looks nice.
I don't
And you
disagree.
got the other, Terry, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, just listen, the city owns the whole fence.
Mhm.
6 lots need to come out, they're a nuisance, they're a public hazard. The 3 that aren't, they stay up. No names involved. If a bad fence comes out, good fence stays.
That's how I feel.
That's why I was wondering if there's a stop and, if they've got, you know, to where a stretcher bar was in there, or,
I don't remember exactly at the end of that third one, if there's a pole like right there, or it would go past it a little bit, like to.
if we could, if, that was my question, if, at the end of their run, if there was some way we could help out right there,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
if we could deaden it right there, you know what I'm saying, and say that's as far as we're going. The rest of it has to be taken out.
And Frank, once you take that fence out, will the city come in there and clean that up, or is that again gonna fall on the property owners? Or, yeah, owner,
Okay, so right,
I think you heard me.
so,
Yeah, they're trying to find a vertical pole here, I think, where is a good place to,
So
like,
whose
right?
is that last house?
That
Is
last house
Betty's, or
is,
that?
no, this is the catcher's
Okay.
house. This is Sue's house right there. I
oh,
believe.
right here.
So it really doesn't matter if there is a vertical pole right there. What we would do is we would put a vertical pole there to terminate, we would place a vertical pole there to terminate the fence,
At the corner of the.
wherever that might be.
So is the city gonna maintain that going forward then?
Maintain what?
That fence, on those, if we stay with those three houses, is that the city's responsibility to maintain that fence going forward?
Yes,
It's on our property.
We always
Yes.
have, I mean.
always has been, we always have maintained.
Well, we could argue about whether we maintained it or not, given the pictures.
Well,
Well, the 6-foot fence that's there from First Street on those, over on those 4 lots, I mean, we maintain at least our side of it. And they trim and
They do theirs.
they maintain on the other side, even though that's technically city property. As far as the fence, where we put a pole there and terminate that, as far as what goes south there, yeah, we'll take that fence out and we'll maintain our property according to the boundary. According to the boundary. We won't go over onto the private property and maintain any of the private property.
took it out, we could put the fence back in if we wanted, it wouldn't have to go back in, we could bring it farther apart, we could scoot it back a foot.
Or we
still on
can
our
choose to
property.
put no fence there.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I
Yeah.
mean,
I would
no
say-
set in stone, that, you know.
Yeah, I would say no fence, because if they're not maintaining it now, they're not gonna maintain it if you put in a new one on the yucky part.
Yeah.
it sounds like to me you need to bring it up, and put it on a
Yucky.
special.
It's yucky.
So is this gonna be put on the agenda for next special meeting? Okay, that sounds like a good idea.
Can I say something? I know that the one person that I talked to was questioning who would be responsible for taking out that tree that's growing into that fence. If we're keeping that fence there, that was a question that was asked as well.
We probably, that one, those are stumped, but yeah, we're probably actually liable for that, that tree's probably, that's the thing with overhead power lines, you know, you know.
This
That-
right here,
Yeah,
Yeah, we-
it's growing into the fence.
we'd be responsible for that.
It goes back to that, keeping it sprayed out and
Yeah.
getting on their side, and we just have to be careful of.
Well, I think that question will probably come back up. If that fence is gonna stay there, they're gonna wanna know who's gonna take out that.
But that part of that tree is on the bad part.
Yeah,
Since you
that
don't
would-
like
that
my
would
yucky
come-
word.
That would come out.
Yeah, it is yucky.
I think there's 2 trees that are grown in the fence.
Yeah.
So that's not something we can take action on tonight, because I'm gonna have to rearrange some things in order to be here on the 6th, because right now I can't.
So, no, that is not an action item for tonight.
Maybe it would behoove all of us to go down there and look at it ourselves.
But it is a lively discussion item for tonight.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I was actually gonna put this on the last meeting, but with that and the pool, I didn't know if it might get lengthy, so I wasn't gonna put 2 lengthy things on at the same time. But I knew deep down that either way, it wasn't gonna happen just, you know, immediately, so that's why we put it off a little bit.
Well, I definitely think everything that's bad is out.
Yep.
Agree.
And if nothing else, send Mr. Smith nice letters stating that we're, you know, whatever the city does to maintain that or take care of that part that he hasn't, that he's
And if
well
we
aware of.
vote next to take it out, we won't take it out until we notify each owner and, you know, the stuff that we're going through. Like I said, between the shelters to build and the tree, I got other
I'm-
stuff that's at the top of the
Sure.
list.
But I think code enforcement needs to visit about that too, because that's
I do
terrible.
too. Especially the yards.
Yeah, especially since it backs up to a public park.
Mhm.
You're talking all kinds of critters and other
Mhm.
things that are homeless.
Awesome.
Thank you, Frank.
You got something?
Okay, Frank,
There's that can of worm you needed.
we discussed it. Item number 9, discuss possibly recommend council action regarding increase of payment for temporary employees at the golf course from $10 per hour as follows. A, temp labor 1, fairway mower, $15 per hour. Item B, temporary labor number 2, rough mower, $15 per hour. Number C, temp labor 3, 4, and 5, $13 per hour. Mr. Bowman?
So, I have a little spreadsheet that I run my temps off of, and, we usually have 5 of them. But, it was, at $10 an hour is working pretty good when we had some other help, reincarnation, when they had some good people out at one time. And, but over the last year or so, we just can't get any help. So, call the temp service, not gonna get you anybody for $10 an hour, is what they tell me. It's not gonna happen. So I've got a couple of them right now, but, you know, nobody stays around that work 2 or 3 days and they're gone. You know, so we needed a structure, you know, one, I need to have somebody that's a lot more capable and to run some of our equipment. You know, some of the mowers, we're putting them on $60,000 mowers, so you gotta be careful who you put on there. And, but we have to keep the golf course mowed, and, so we try to train them the best we can, but we just have to have some help, and right now I've got 2.5 right now, when I usually need about 5. And I had a good one, but he said, I can't stay here for $10 an hour, so he went on.
What does other courses close to ours pay for their labor?
Some of them's up to $18, so, but they're in the same boat we are. They said they can't even find people. Everybody's having the same problem right now.
So your your temporary laborers, what months do they work for? It's not year-round, is it?
I can work one of them year-round, because I only have the 2. I have Alan right now, and then I don't have my other assistant right now, because he left, Scott left, so we're trying to hire for that position. We ran that for 2 weeks and we got 0 applicants, so.
No, because you can go to McDonald's and make $10 an hour,
They're
and it's
paying
not near as
Paying
hard.
more, right?
Yeah, and they're in air conditioning, or, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they're paying a lot more. So I just tried to come up with some kind of a structure, for my better help that, you know, my more qualified help that I need to keep on the expensive mowers. And then, still have been able to get some people out there, you know, that we can weed eat and do other kinds of tasks. And, you know, the whole deal is, our turnover is so high, you know, they work 2 or 3 days and they say, well, I'm not gonna do this all summer for $10 an hour, so.
Well, I make a motion, we approve it.
Did you talk, when you did your budget this year, did you put in for pay raises for their
It
people?
is, isn't it?
When, the mayor does the budget for the
Was that figured into the budget
the
this year?
regular people, they did, but not for the temp people.
So, so to follow all the proper protocols about this, what this would do is this would go to budget personnel.
the next Budget Personnel Committee meeting, which would be on the 11th of October, and they would consider that, and then we would send that onto council. This is an enterprise zone, so it doesn't affect, excuse me, it doesn't affect the general fund in any way. We would propose amending the golf budget to include these temps, and then whatever line item that is on the golf budget, then present that to budget personnel, and then they would consider that, and if approved, then they would send that on to council. That's the way that would work.
Okay. So Dennis, since you gave us such a good report a while ago with how we're doing, does that mean we probably have the money in your golf
Yeah, we'll have the money for that.
to do
the
this?
Differences.
I mean, I know it has to get to other approval, but
Right.
it is nice to know that that money is there, right?
Right.
Okay.
And bear in mind, these are temps, they're not
Right.
full-time employees where they're being paid benefits.
Right.
So we're working this through a temp agency,
Correct.
and
Do they go to, is there a possibility from temp to full-time?
If I could find one to fill this position that we're trying to, yeah, I'd like to hire somebody as a temp first, and then, hey, if they can become.
90 days or whatever it is.
And then, we got information out for people to, let me give another couple weeks on
Yeah, I don't remember. when
turning that
process
application
turned
in.
out, but-
Right.
Dennis has done a real good job over time, and y'all who are out there a lot understand it. He likes to grab hold of a good temp and then mentor them.
No, I don't disagree, I just,
Mentor them to come into a full-time
If they're-
position when it's available.
if they, when they leave from temp, if they're at 15, is there a pay raise from leave from temp to full-time?
We don't have anything unless we move them into one of the two positions that we have.
And if we do, how much more would they go to?
I think it's like 17, but with benefits. I mean,
So that's.
They get a
that's-
$2 raise and then
Yeah, that's
benefits.
included on our pay scale.
Right.
On our city pay scale,
And that's
so,
already in the budget.
yeah.
I think it's a good stepping stone to get them started, especially if you can find somebody.
We just find anything.
Already did.
Then I'll,
Say,
Yes, yes, I have a motion that we accept
Okay.
this.
There's a motion.
Yes, I just jumped the gun.
And I've got a discussion item, have you got a motion in a second, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Just to clarify for Roy, he's new, make sure we're saying the same thing here, that we all understand this, is
Roy's not new. Roy's very experienced. He's very experienced.
new to the park board. This discussion about enterprise funds,
Yeah.
it does have its own budget, but there are times when money has been taken from the general fund. Am I saying this correctly? It's been taken from the general fund to subsidize the enterprise fund.
Okay, so,
So if we were in a situation where we needed money but didn't have money available to golf course,
Yeah.
the general fund may be called upon to subsidize.
so what Chris said is generally true.
Directionally correct?
Most of the time, we will supplement the golf course through our number 44 fund, okay, which is our capital outlay. Capital outlay equipment fund. Okay, and that does not come out of the general fund. We have supplemented out of the general fund when we had the flooding in 2019. And we did supplement out of that. Those funds were supplemented, but they were also paid back. 75% of those were paid back through a FEMA claim because of the flooding. So you are generally correct in speaking the general fund, but most of the time, that equipment, or virtually all the time, that equipment has been paid out of the 44 fund, which is capital outlay equipment.
Okay, and to help me clarify that, that is another fund that's not part of the enterprise fund. It's another fund in the city.
That's correct.
That was moved into, but we typically think about enterprise funds being self-funded, they're self-contained, with their own P and L.
The enterprise funds, we have 3 enterprise funds in the city. One is golf course, the other is rec center, and the other is municipal utility board. So technically, municipal utility board is also an enterprise fund, and it is completely self-funding. The golf course is set up to be self-funding. All of the enterprise funds are set up to try to be self-funding, except for the rec center, which is supported by a percentage of sales tax.
But that is the whole of their revenue stream on paper is take the sales tax plus whatever funding they generate as a ongoing rec center operation.
Yes.
And it's on paper, ideally, that would be the revenue stream that they would use to run their operations and wouldn't need outside funds.
So
That, on paper.
on paper. So the golf course is the enterprise fund that is set up to be self-supported.
Yeah.
And last year and this year it has done that.
I think it's done it for 20 out of the 21 years.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is something that's, I think, to understand, since the golf course is an enterprise fund, about how that operates, and it leads to some of the discussions we've had in the past years about, do we live within our budget, which I think was your question, really was what you were getting to.
Right.
Or is it possible that if we exceed our budget, that there's other funds available within the city? Maybe not from the general fund, but from another fund, we can go to those if we can make the business case.
We would only dip into those funds if it was absolutely necessary. Right. And that would be after cutting expenses every place we could and.
Telethons and door-to-door, raising, yeah.
Right. We know where you live.
We have a first and a second.
Other discussion? Entertain a motion?
We have a motion and a second.
Huh?
We have a motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second.
Buffington.
Thank you.
Alexander.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Buffington.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Alexander.
Yes.
Graves.
Yes?
Shelby.
Yes.
Kennedy.
Yes.
Thank you, folks.
Item number 10, unforeseeable business. Seeing none.
Well, before you go on, I do have something I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
Is that, I wasn't sure if this was the time to do it or not, but I better bring it now or it's not gonna happen. So I had a citizen that came up to me at church and told me one of our other citizens had been attacked by a dog at the Whitaker Park. And they were aware, looking at, Frank, you guys are aware of this, but anyway, she was out walking in the morning and these big dogs attacked her and she's got some, I went by and saw Tuit, her name's Tuit Miller, and she's got some big bruises on her arms. And just concerned about lack of, or I say lack, but the security, you know, some of the older people that are out there in the mornings walking. And so she asked if she could come up here tonight, and I said, well, I would bring it up so she wouldn't have to come since she's older. And so anyway, I did go down to the park and looked at the signs. She says, Mr. Jackson, those signs up there say no pets up here. And I said, well, let me go down there and look. And they do say no pets.
No pets on trail.
On trails, exactly. So so after
pets on a
investigating,
trail.
I have seen that dogs are allowed in the park, and
There's the leash laws in effect.
right,
And nothing against this woman, the dogs were on leashes, but they were them real long.
Yeah.
And a police report was filed, police
Right.
came down. But yeah, when the dogs bit her, the owner took the dogs and I guess left immediately and didn't hang around. But there was, as far as we knew in the police report, because she called back, I guess kind of wanting to do something, but I don't know how you control that.
I don't know either, but I
Yeah.
promised her I'd bring it up today.
But they were on leash, I mean, there was nothing actually illegally done as far as I know. I said, police report was filed, and it's unfortunate for her. I think it was one of those one-time incident. I mean, as far as I know,
That was gonna be my question for you. Do you have any other
no,
record of that or incident?
no, that, so say it brings up, I've had a lot of people ask me about dog parks constantly. And all I've done is talk to Claremore and they said, don't do it. Because you have issues, there's no control over big dog, little dog, where they got two different, like,
Right.
sizes, and some will bring in one that's mediocre, but anyway, that's off subject, but no, I'm aware of it, and it was unfortunate for her, and I don't know if that guy's actually brought his dogs back to the park, but they were on leashes, but we do still run into issues all the time. You see people with dogs constantly, and even the law, like we're no on the trail, in the evenings, we're not there. If a policeman's driving down the street, he's not gonna stop and say, hey, you can't have that dog on the trail. So that's one of those deals where signs posted, but kind of bicycles on the trail, same way, no bicycles on the trail, but you can't constantly police it, and actually if you catch someone, there's not much you can do even, but.
Well, if you
With
take
the
the,
dogs, as long as, if someone's there, but they're allowed in the park, they are supposed to be on leashes, that's, leash law. So that is illegal, so if there's dogs there and the guy's got them running around, we can call the cops, on a deal like that.
Well, I'm gonna visit with her after hearing this. Of course, I've been thinking about it. I kind of figured what you were to say is correct. I just need to talk to her about how to be a safe walker, maybe carrying a stick, maybe getting with some things she can do to protect herself.
Yeah, now that guy, I wasn't there
Yeah.
but my guys seen part of it, I think, or when the cops showed up. But, so there's probably different things that could have happened there, but as far as I know, there wasn't anything illegal. Now, I said they had him on leashes, but it was real long, so he could have definitely been better at controlling. And I heard I put big old dogs, well, I was
Yeah.
like Rottweilers or something, but,
well, if this hadn't happened in the park, I mean, I kind of think, what would the situation be? I mean, if somebody's walking a dog and the dog attacks you, I think that's between
it's
you and
just
the dog.
between yeah, it's yeah.
And I think that's probably where we're at, even though, unless we want to go to another step that says you can't have animals on leashes.
And I
But-
think she called, and didn't you say she had a thing about having big dog? Well, you can't, it's either gonna be no dogs
Yeah.
allowed, or, none of this sizing them stuff.
But I think and I'm not a lawyer, but to me, it looks like the scenario here is this between her and that dog owner? It happened on city property, but the city is not responsible. I mean, somebody was following this, I mean,
If
she
you
got
tried to-
attacked, and it's an assault, I guess, is what you,
I would say so, both looking at the pictures I saw,
yeah. And she has whatever recourse that she would want to take. I just don't think the city would be insuring against that.
They'll come over to your office and beat it down, lynch you.
But anyway, we're aware of it, and I said
Good.
it was unfortunate, but,
Yeah, it is.
as far as I know, it was just unfortunate.
I'll get back with her tomorrow or
Is-
soon, and
Me and all my guys, if we do see dogs running around, we call the dog catcher immediately. That happens quite a bit, that's a stray dog running around. And then every now and then you will see that one guy that might, in the past, I've even gotten on to a sheriff. This has been quite a few years ago. And it was the K-9 Sheriff Department right there, and he was bringing his dog there to run at that time, we didn't have the splash pad. And he's letting his dog run around and going up to the trash cans and do their thing. I'm like, people are gonna, I had to get on to him, for that, but yeah. Okay.
thanks, Frank.
Frank. Any other unforeseeable business? If none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
Good job, good job.
Thank you.